Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 197 of Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports. I'm Nick Hill, live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and joining me from, I believe, Corpus Christi, Texas, is Gustavo Tomazelli. Gus, how are you doing on this Wednesday evening?
Health-wise, I'm doing good. Definitely happy to be with my family. Yes, I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas, enjoying some sunny days and the beach in the southeast side of Texas. But definitely today feels like a turning point in terms of political discussions and in terms of what's next for the political movement in the United States.
Yeah, and you said it right. It's a dark day in America. Whether you loved him, hated him, disagreed with him, Miller Camargo says it best here. Rep Charlie Kirk, of course. Charlie Kirk, he was the founder of Turning Point USA, a prominent conservative organization. He had founded that organization when he was 18 years old, and he lived a very short life. He was killed today at Utah Valley University, was assassinated during one of his notorious college debate events he would hold on campus, where he would just, verbally go back and forth with just random people who would show up to the mic on various topics. And this was no different than any of the other events. And of course, most people have probably seen the viral clips from those various events across the country. And unfortunately, today he was in the middle of talking actually about gun violence, and a sniper ended his life, slaying him at the age of 31. He left behind a wife, Erica, and two children. Their ages were 4 and 1. So just a horrific situation, a tragedy. Definitely my prayers go out to his family, to all of his friends, and to everyone who was definitely a deep supporter of him, right? Because he was, I would argue, outside of President Trump, he is one of probably the 5 or 10 most influential conservatives in terms of getting the conservative movement to where it is today, because you can probably credit him more than anyone else for the massive shift among Gen Z in the previous election towards President Trump. Like the Republicans have been with Gen Z in this election, they've done with a young generation in a very, very long time. And Charlie Kirk was certainly behind that. And he certainly was a genius in terms of organizing that conservative energy. And he was primed to be a figure in American politics for a very long time to come, and that got taken away today from him, and it's just another reminder. And it's crazy, guys, because I was rewatching some of our old episodes. I do that sometimes just to kind of see what we talked about on the previous time, and I watched the episode we did right after the assassination attempt on President Trump last July. And it's crazy that we're back here having the same conversation. But unfortunately, in this situation, President Trump survived in that situation. But now we've seen, this particular figure in Charlie Kirk was actually killed. Jason Weicker, friend, he says, "Don't shoot, vote." And, that needs to be the message. If you hate someone, if you hate what they stand for, if you don't like them, fine. And this is America. You're never going to agree with everyone politically, right? I'd say I probably don't agree with much of anyone politically. But I'm in a very unique position as a journalist, right? I interact with people. I interact with a lot of Republicans. I interact with a lot of Democrats. And publicly, I try to stay very neutral, right? Because I feel like it'd be very inappropriate for me as a journalist in my position to be very open with my politics. But days like today really make me sit back and wonder, is it is it a disservice to sit back and stay quiet? And I'm not saying I was a supporter of Charlie Kirk, but what I am saying is there's definitely an increasing movement within this country to suppress political dissent, to suppress political opinion. And I think it goes beyond just politics. And I'm going to get a little spiritual here. As someone who is a deep believer in Jesus Christ as a Christian, it's a spiritual war, right? Like we as a country have grown to worship things that are not God, that are not Jesus Christ. And I think when people grow to worship political ideologies more than anything else, this is the result. Because you have political ideologies that basically tell their people that the ideological enemy is trying to kill you, that they're trying to get rid of you. And that stuff like today is why. And we don't know who the shooter is, what he is for. We don't know if he was a far leftist, a far right. We have no idea because he has not been caught. He's still on the run at this time. So taking that with that out of the way, because we don't know what the motivation is here in this particular attack. The point is we have lost our way as a country because we worship ourselves and we worship these just extremist ideas that are not concrete in our eternal salvation. Because, as humans, we only live here for so long. And ultimately, for me, right, like the eternal salvation is in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I know Charlie Kirk, he was a deep believer as well and spoke about it on his tours quite frequently. And I hope that tonight he is getting to embrace our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And that is my prayer for him. That prayer for his family is that they receive comfort for this time. And I just pray that America doesn't choose more hate and more violence. Some of the stuff I've seen this evening is terrifying. Like some of these people are calling for things that would be ultimately destructive and would tear our country apart. And there's no need for us to go down the road of more civil conflict, more civil war, because of a whole bunch of people who worship their fringe ideologies. People who worship an idea more than worship God, than value other human lives. Because once that becomes more important than human life, then all bets are off. And I don't want us to get to a place as a country where we're willing to die for just a whole bunch of things and we start seeing our other Americans as enemies. And that is my great concern on this evening. And it's really ironic here. We're less than an hour away on the East Coast from the 24th anniversary of 9/11 tomorrow as well. And it's an example of how a group of people took an ideological extreme, deep rooted in hate, to attack a group of people they thought were heretical to them. And we as a society need to take a step back. We need to stop here. I'm not saying you should all of a sudden go and become a massive President Trump supporter or whatever. We need to take a moment though and self-examine, what do we actually worship? What ideas actually control you? Because whoever did this shooting, let evil control them. For whatever manifesto, whatever reason they did this, evil was what they worshipped. And that's why tonight a father is dead.
Great intro monologue, Nick Hill. I mean, you couldn't say better. I feel like that's a great discourse, because what I love about our friendship is the diversity of ideas we have. Of course, we have our differences, each one on each side. But at the end of the day, Charlie did something that I always try to do with my life: speak with people that are opposite views from you, because in this era, people tend to stay in their bubbles, tend to stay with people that agree with him in every sense, in every idea. And Charlie, he was brave enough to, I will debate anyone with any idea, and I will oppose, or I will agree, or I will try to. And he said something that is very profound. It's like, a girl walk up to him, is like, why you debate college students? And he answered perfectly. He said, uh, I'm here to debate voters. Do you vote? Yes, so do I. So I want to talk to people that make a difference in this country, and the young generation is the difference in the political shift in terms of who's in power for years to come. Even the last election made a huge difference. So he did for his part, and he died doing something that he did brilliant the most, which was, talk to people of all ideas. And it's so funny how the two amendments in the United States Constitution are being so debated because of this act. The First Amendment, which allows Charlie Clerk to be who he was, speak freely with, all freedom of speech. And ultimately, he died because of a firearm that shot at him. And a lot of people are debating about the Second Amendment because of that. So uh, at the end, his death is again raising concerns and questions about two amendments that Americans, uh, you know, love or hate. I love especially the First Amendment, which is something that is valuable to any country. But his his passing is definitely gonna make a difference.
Right. And you understand exactly how important that First Amendment is, because Brazil doesn't have that in terms of, protections of the freedom of speech. And, as a journalist, right, like stuff like this, it certainly, it's alarming in terms of like, man, all it really takes is one person to hate what you do, to hate what you report, to hate what you stand for. And that could be it. And it's hard not to be paranoid just to think about that. It's hard for any politician, hard for any commentator, hard for any journalist, hard for anyone who puts our face out in front of controversial things to not have that thought. But you know what? I challenge each and every one to this, right? Because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be scared to share their opinions moving forward because they're afraid that this is going to happen, right? And perhaps maybe the type of events that Kirk was doing, maybe those are probably may go away now with, or at least not without major security changes. But I challenge everyone to be willing and able to share their convictions. And I get it, it's scary, it could be dangerous. And there's a lot of people who are going to take this act and they're going to want to justify other future violent acts. And just I really hope that we find a way to avoid that as a country. And if for some reason we go down that road, I urge each and every one of us to be as anti-violence as we possibly can, because that doesn't solve anything. That and we, I'm not going to like use old trips like, oh, we got more in common or whatever, and because let's be real, there's a lot of increasing differences between different sects of this country, between different ideologies in this country. Um, and I don't particularly know how you reconcile that, you know. And I do think, you gotta look at like social media in terms of how it amplifies division and puts everyone in their echo chambers with political polarization. But make no mistake, whoever did this, uh, it's because they worship evil. And like that's what led to the tragedy today, the political assassination, probably the most dramatic assassination that we have seen in over 50 years. So it just, I don't know, it's stunning, and frankly, it's had me shook all afternoon and evening. So, uh, yeah, and I'm sorry this had to happen while you were here, guys. I mean, it's just it's just a really it's not just a dark day. It's been a dark time. It's been a dark decade, I think, to be an American because it just feels like we're going further and further apart. And I want a unified country. I want to be unified with my fellow Americans because I truly believe if united, we can be the best country on this planet. But I don't know if we're ever truly going to see that again.
I mean, it's so funny how, for example, in contrast, in Brazil right now, the Supreme Court are deciding if they're gonna convict former presidents. So, I mean, it's not that, for example, another big country here in Americas is also face a lot of heat, and and also Bolsonaro, the guy who's been convicted, almost died campaigning in 2018. So it's not different in other countries, but definitely it was weird being here, but it's good also to see how um, people can react different ways and see how he made an impact not only in America but also throughout the world. A lot of people in Brazil
Yeah,
kind
I'm
of.
gonna say this: if you're celebrating this, if you're posting jokes or whatever, um, please, please pray, repent, and find some peace in your heart. Like this, like I'm not saying you need to agree with him, and there's a lot of stuff that he said that I can't agree with, but man, if you're celebrating it, like this as part of the reason why this happened, more than likely. I mean, again, we don't know who did this. We don't know what exactly the motivation is here, but it's safe to assume they probably didn't like the guy. They probably didn't like what he said. Uh, So just just a bad situation, and I don't know. That's all I really have to say on that, Gus.
Yeah, let's move on because life has to move on from things like that, and talk about something that at least brings some joy, brings some distraction and unity, that is sports. Because
Right.
our podcast is two countries, two Americas, all sports, and there's plenty to talk about, especially in the gridiron, because it was it was an interesting weekend in terms of college football. I'll say that. And let me start something real quick before we go to the big games, because I went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, on Saturday to watch the number three team in the country, LSU Tigers, versus the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs.
Yeah, I guess
And
tell me what that was like. What is Death Valley like at night?
it was fun. It was fun. It was a great atmosphere. I arrived literally uh, 2 minutes after kickoff. We ended up, stuck in traffic and all that mess, but we made it. But it was a great atmosphere. I'll say this: Tennessee atmosphere way better than LSU. I'll tell you that. How
Well, I
like
mean, to be fair though, you went for Louisiana Tech. Like, what would it
no,
look like
no,
for like Alabama or
no,
like
no, but
that?
for me, what made a difference compared, because I've been to Tennessee games where they play Tennessee Tech or ETSU or a weaker opponent, but I feel like when you go to an environment like this, you really take for granted how Rocky Top is a song that really impacts, because I felt I was missing something, and that was it. Like a impactful song that cheers the crowd.
Well, I mean,
Especially,
LSU has neck that just won't let them play it. In the hey, suck that tiger. But they won't let them. They won't let them do it because of the obscene chant.
okay, I guess that's fair, but it was a great atmosphere overall. But I'll tell you this: I felt, and even gonna put the press conference that Brian Kelly gave, because his opinion was literally the same opinion that I had. I felt this team was uninspired. I felt that I don't know, if they start fumbling the ball. I want to put just the beginning of the press conference because that's the opinion that I have.
Yeah, look, we're happy with the win. We're not happy with the production across the board. We got to coach better. That's the bottom line. And tonight we didn't coach well enough. We got out coached in a lot of areas. Hats off to Coach Cumbie and his staff at La Tech. They did a great job tonight. You got to run the football. We didn't run the football effectively tonight, and it made it difficult for us. We didn't make great decisions.
We didn't make great decisions, and I agree because, for example, they only scored their first down literally by the end of the first quarter. Their first offensive possession was a fumble. So when you perform like that on, when you have a turnover on your first offensive play against a weak opponent, I don't know. I was expecting more from LSU, to be honest.
Yeah, and you got to think about when you look back at their week 1 result against Clemson. I mean, Clemson was down 16-0. Right. So there's a chance here that both LSU and Clemson are not great teams, which honestly to me feels like that could be the most likely scenario here. Because if Clemson was bad enough to where they had to come back from double digits down against Troy, what does that say about LSU? I mean, LSU only beat Clemson by a touchdown, and LSU should have won by a lot more against Clemson. But once again, they had a lot of turnovers, a lot of miscues. Like LSU has been very sloppy for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yes, that's what I felt in the game. LSU was sloppy.
And there's a lot of people who seem to think, oh, LSU is the favorite now to win the SEC. I'm not convinced of that.
I'm not convinced either after what I saw in person on Saturday.
Right. And then again, it's not like, a lot of the SEC has been, great and clean so far. And of course, we're going to talk about many more of the SEC teams throughout the rest of this podcast. But it's kind of interesting that you brought up LSU and how, just from seeing them in person, you're not that impressed.
No, not at all. Not at all. Definitely in terms of offensive performance, as Brian Kelly put it out, they didn't run the ball effectively. Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, he had the interception the first play, but then he got a great pass to open the score. But I don't know, he was okay, 26 completions for 41 attempts, 237 yards.
Yeah, and just kind of described to me too.
Yeah, I felt like for a number 3 team.
I'm sorry, guys, you were kind of breaking up a little bit, so I didn't know if you had stopped or not.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask us, as outside of the game, just tell me what an LSU game is like outside of the stadium. The stuff around the stadium, like pregame stuff, maybe tailgating. What was that like?
Oh, I mean, definitely there were a lot of RVs, a lot of people. They have the street, kind of like Cumberland Street. They have a street similar to that as well by Tiger Stadium. I didn't see a lot of. There's no the square by not Neyland Drive, up on the hill where there's the torch.
Oh, the torch bearer, Circle Park.
Yeah, Circle Park. That's what they don't have a circle park, so they have to kind of tailgate more into the parking lots. And it was funny that I thought I was, and it was hard to find parking, but when I found it was free, that was surprising because in Neyland Stadium, you could definitely wouldn't be able to park for free anywhere. And I ended up finding free parking. Was kind of far, but I did. And overall, it was a good experience. Of course, I stay in the very top bowl, so I had to walk up a little bit to arrive there. and the view is great. You know, the front, and there's the river and all. But I'll tell you, I mean, I still feel like Tennessee football environment is better. Of course, I mean, I've been to Alabama as well, but I don't know if maybe I'm playing like a home. I mean, I got so used to, and you know, and of course tend to be more favorable towards Tennessee Volunteers. But yeah, I liked it. It was a very fun experience. It was a very very great atmosphere, but still missing that up the only like the traditions and all, like the announcer as well, and good, but not like Jeff Garningen. I don't know, like just Tennessee has better.
Yeah, of course, Tennessee is the best college football experience in the planet. LSU can't do this behind me. They can't do that behind me.
Oh,
So
definitely they can. No, and what's funny is that people were leaving the stadium by the third quarter. I mean, I know like Tennessee fans do that, but by the end of the game, it was empty.
yeah, actually, I mean,
And
to be fair, Neyland was kind of like that for the ETSU game too. By the end as well.
yeah, but and it was funny that uh, when Louisiana Tech score, my dad made a joke about it. Like now, Louisiana Tech's gonna come from behind and win. It's like, oh, Dad, no, no. And then they scored a few goals. Like, see, Dad, no way, no chance. But the fans were happy just to score a touchdown, which I mean, for a team, in the lower division, like, because I had to explain to my parents about, like, they are not in the same, they're in the same uh, championship. I mean, they're both in the FBS, but they're not the same level.
Right, right. Because LSU actually takes care of their opponents, unlike the next team we're going to talk about. Because not every SEC team can beat a team from a lower classification, right? Florida. Oh my God.
Congrats.
Wow. I don't even know what to say here, man. And it's finally good to get to something that really can get me smiling because, oh my God, Florida lost at home 18-16 to South Florida. Just a disaster, complete disaster. Like the hype was so big in the offseason about DJ Lagway and and the Florida defense, and that Billy Napier had it all figured out. And now their whole season is dead after week 2. Is it over for Billy? It feels like it's over for Billy. Like he's done after this.
He's that coach walking. He's done. I mean, uh, uh, he might be a good coach, but he doesn't have the it for the SEC. He's just not there. He reminds me a lot of Butch Jones. Billy Napier is the Florida version of Butch Jones. He came from a lower division. He has a good speech. He's a good person, good character, but he just not cut off for the SEC.
Correct. And what's really bad about this for Florida is they lost this game not because South Florida was like incredible. Like they only threw up 18 points. I mean, they could do nothing on offense. That is alarming. Like DJ Lagway was horrible in this game. So many of their drives ended in punts or turnovers. Just they did nothing on offense all day. And for a team that was supposed to have one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the SEC, just completely unacceptable. And remember, Billy Napier is an offensive-minded coach. But this offense is horrible. And remember, what's crazy is they literally fired Dan Mullen, who's one of the best offensive minds in college football, before Billy Napier. And now Dan Mullen's at UNLV. They're undefeated, and I want to talk about them here in a little bit. And Dan Mullen was 34-15 when he was fired at Florida. Like Billy Napier's barely 500, and it still makes zero sense to me. And I get that Mullen wasn't doing well at recruiting, but we now live in an NIL world. Like Dan Mullen could have just went out and gotten transferred all the time, like Mike Norvell. Would that have been sustainable? Probably not. But man, don't you think Dan Mullen would be still doing better than if they have kept him versus firing Billy Napier or
Oh
hiring?
yeah, oh yeah, and I still think Dan Bowler is gonna go back to the SEC, probably to Mississippi State or maybe to Vandy, but he's gonna come back to the SEC because he was doing I mean, he was just one play away from literally having a big shot to the college football playoff
100%.
back in, I think back in 2020, right?
Yeah,
When they
2020,
had,
the Jufro incident against LSU.
yeah. So he was doing a fine job. Of course, they had issues with recruiting, but at the end of the day, uh, Florida hit the panic mode, hired the first coach they could hire, and it's backfiring. And because so far, Billy Napier has not proven that he's a coach that is going to take Florida to at least be competitive in the SEC.
Yeah, and I just want to read off the rest of Florida's schedule because this truly doesn't get any easier. This week they're at LSU. Next week they're at Miami. They get a bye week, then home against Texas, at Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida State. And they couldn't beat South Florida. Rough season incoming, really bad. Because like even in the preseason, I thought Florida was going to go like 7-5, just because I thought that schedule was way too hard. But yeah, after actually seeing them play, they may not make it to more than 4 wins. Because like literally every team they play, okay, outside of maybe Kentucky, is good.
Yeah, because the other team they're gonna play literally, it's better than people thought. I mean, they proved on the field on Saturday, down in Starkville. But yeah, I think Billy Napier gets fired. I'll say after the Texas A&M game, or maybe after Georgia.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. I honestly think by the time Tennessee plays Florida, they'll have an interim coach. And
Do you know what this loss feels like? Do you remember 2017 when Butch Jones lost to Florida on the Hail Mary?
Yes.
That feels like that. He wasn't fired that game, but people knew he was not going to end this season after that game.
Yeah, and what probably is going to happen here is either LSU, Miami, or Texas are going to just completely destroy Florida, and that's going to be like 2017 Georgia, and that'll be pretty much the end of the road for Billy Napier in Florida, and I'm curious to see where they will go from there. Of course, they could always potentially go after the coach that just beat them in Alex Golesh, and obviously Alex Golesh, we've been big fans of him here on this podcast because when we started, he was our OC in Tennessee, and I said when he got hired at South Florida, he's going to do really well there. He's going to make them one of the best G5 teams, and now look at him. South Florida, in my view, is right now the front runner for the G5 college football playoffs. But of course, they blew out Boise State week 1 and now have pulled off this win against Florida. Even if they lose to Miami this week, like they still did. Because I have to remember last week, Gus, I said after the Boise State win, if they can pull off one of Florida or Miami, then South Florida, if they run the rest of the table, should be the team that gets in as a G5 representative. And now they're playing with house money. Like I think they have nothing to lose this week at Miami. It's insane how good South Florida actually is.
You know what? In the back of their minds, South Florida fans remember of 2007. I mean, the last time they had a really shot on the postseason, as crazy as it is 2007.
Well, I think 2017. They were really good. Remember, they were in that back and forth game with UCF on Black Friday, where they ended up losing on like the last minutes.
But remember, in 2007, if they had run the table by the end of the season, they would have played for the national championship.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
they were the number 2 team in the country. They beat the Rich Rodriguez West Virginia. They were in the pace, and then they ended up losing to Rutgers, and then completely fell apart. So that's why South Florida fans are like, they remember 2007. We beat the big dogs, but can we beat the teams that we we have the same kind of conference, like a Memphis on the road, Navy on the road.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to have to make sure they don't lose any of those games. And what if they get all the way to the championship game and then lose the championship game? Like you got to make sure you avoid all those pitfalls. For South Florida right now, with Byron Brown, who's a really talented quarterback, that defense for South Florida is nasty. And what's impressive too, right, is in the era of NIL, it's going to be harder and harder for these G5 teams to really remain good because all of the P4 teams are coming in and out to steal their talent. So for South Florida to put up the talent level they have, it's just so impressive to see what they're doing. And Alex Gola should 100% be a P4 coach this time next year. I'm horrified at the prospect of him going to a rival team in the SEC. I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope he goes to like the Big Ten or something. Just stay away from a team that plays Tennessee all the time. But he's going to go somewhere big. And I think also, too, this is great for Josh Heupel, right? Because he's already building a coaching tree. Like Alex Golesh is his first big hire that is now a successful head coach in his own right. I bet, could we see that with Tim Banks one day? Could we see that with Joey Hazel? If the offense ends up, working against better teams, like Josh, because the best coaches always have a great coaching tree. And the fact that Heupel already has that in 5 years at Tennessee, a good sign for Heupel and the Vols.
Yeah, I mean, Heupel's building something that completely legitimizes him, which is a coaching tree, of coordinators that come out of his coaching tree and do well as a head coach. Of course, Nick Saban was the best of all. How many, coordinators he brought ended up being great coaches. But it shows how Heupel is really doing something special at Tennessee.
Absolutely. And some other big games, because the biggest game of the week last week was Oklahoma hosting Michigan. The Sooners got that dub. And really, I think the star here was John Mateer. Against a really good Michigan defense. I thought he played a very solid game. He had one turnover in this game, but otherwise was very solid. Had 270 yards passing, one touchdown, one interception, and then 74 yards receiving. Deion Burks had 101 yards receiving for the Sooners, which is really impressive against Michigan. And also Oklahoma's defense held Bryce Underwood, the heralded five-star recruit, to 142 yards on 9 pass completions for 24 attempts. Justice Haynes did have 125 yards rushing, but most of that was on the opening third quarter touchdown. Otherwise, Michigan's offense did nothing here. There is honestly a world where Oklahoma might be the best team in the SEC. And that might be a scorching hot take after 2 weeks. But I think Oklahoma is going to be in a far different position in late October, November this season than where they were last year. Last year, they were a miracle to make a bowl game. This year, I think they're fighting for a playoff spot. They just look so much better.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it wasn't very Brent Venables. I mean, what a turnaround, because a lot of people wanted him fired, and he's definitely turned the program around.
100%. And Mateer might win the Heisman as well. Let's keep that in mind. Honestly, to me, when I look at the schedule, like obviously Georgia's this week, and we're going to talk a lot about that here in a little bit against Tennessee. But outside of Georgia, I think Oklahoma might be our other really toughest game. And of course, we're going to get them in Neyland in November, and that's going to be a crazy atmosphere, I know, for that game, because we all know what happened the last time Oklahoma came to Tennessee, and I want some revenge for that game, Gus. Because we got that a little bit. We got some revenge last year, yes, but to get the full true revenge, I want to beat them on this field right here, because we should have done that 10 years ago. But
yeah, because we revenged 2014, because if I'm not mistaken, Tennessee went to Oklahoma and got their ass kicked.
Correct. Yeah, it was 34-10. It was not a good time.
Yeah, so we revenged 2014 last year. Now it's time to revenge 2015.
Yeah, and I'll say this for Michigan. I was a bit disappointed with their offense. Their offense didn't do anything in this game. Bryce Underwood is a true freshman, so I think we got to give him a little bit more time to produce. I think he will have better games than this one, but clearly the moment was a little too big for him. And you just got to hope that we're not overhyping these 5-star quarterbacks too soon. We would know from experience here in Tennessee. I'm not saying Bryce Underwood is like that particular quarterback, but, there are a lot of people who were running around saying that he was going to make Michigan a playoff contender right now. That they have a lot of work to do. But I will say this when it comes to Michigan. They do not play a single ranked team between now and the time they play that team from Columbus, Ohio at the end of the season. And we all know how much Michigan controls Ohio State up here in the dome, up here in the head. So, there's a path here for Michigan as long as they don't lose any games that they're not supposed to lose.
Yeah, I think the Sooners have a path because the SEC this year is as open as ever. There's, of course, maybe Georgia, but I don't see Georgia being so much better than the rest of the SEC.
Yeah, it's truly wide open. Now, the last one I wanted to bring up specifically, you alluded to them earlier, guys. Mississippi State, what a miracle! What a freaking game!
I called.
You did call it, yes. I didn't believe them, and I have to apologize to Mississippi State fans. I on my TikTok this offseason, I picked them to go 2-10. I had them losing to Southern Miss and Arizona State to start the year, and I was definitely wrong about that. Miss State not only won this game, but they dominated at least early. Now, Arizona State came back and took the lead. However, Arizona State, they failed to score a touchdown on that long drive they had in the fourth quarter, which set up the miracle from Blake Shapen to his wide receiver with 30 seconds left. Unreal scenes. They stormed the field. Actually, a guy that I know from here in town who's a Miss State alum was at the game. He stormed the field. I saw the pictures from him on the field. It was awesome. And honestly, Mississippi State is that one SEC team that I really have no hatred for at all. I don't really care one way or the other about Mississippi State, but given what has happened the past couple of years, with their program, obviously the tragedy that occurred off the field with Mike Leach, it just almost feels like there was a certain pirate that guided that ball Saturday night for the Bulldogs. That's just what it feels like.
Yeah, maybe his spirit was there to bless that play, and you said it yourself. I feel like Mississippi State is, of course, outside of Oxford, outside of Oxford, maybe is a team that everybody's kind of wanted to improve because it's been so hard, having to replace a coach that was beloved, legendary in college football. That was an uprising coach, then probably is going to take Mississippi State to higher levels, but unfortunately he passed away. So recovery from that was hard, but that win on Saturday, that's why the fans stormed the field. And if I am the AD or the president of the university, I'll pay, with grace, and probably boosters help with grace to pay the ridiculous $500,000 fine to storm the field, because those fans needed that win so bad.
100%. It was such a feel-good win for them. And I will say this, Gus, I am now deeply concerned about our trip to Starkville in a few weeks, because we go on September the 27th, so 2 weeks from Saturday. And knowing our track record on the road, especially in games we're not supposed to lose, it's a little scary with all the cowbells. I might have to train myself with cowbells that entire week. Ding a ding a ding a ding a ding a ding a ding, and just go ahead and train myself, because I feel like it's going to be a very aggravating watch. I'm not looking forward to watching that game.
This game gives Arkansas vibes.
100%. gives Arkansas vibes. Like, I am terrified of going to Mississippi State because they look so much better than I thought they would. Like, their defense actually looks really solid. Blake Shapen looks like a really good quarterback. The Levy offense is starting to roll. Like, because I thought Miss State, like, when you look at all the talent that left them this offseason, I kind of thought that they were going to fall off even more. And they were already bad to begin with. But they must have been able to find some locker room chemistry because, man, that looked like a team that was playing incredibly hard. They were motivated. And for Arizona State, like, Sam Leavitt was awful. He didn't even pass 100 yards passing in this game. Like, Arizona State misses Cam Scatterbo a lot more than I thought they would, especially given the fact they have Jordan Tyson as a wide receiver and another NFL wide receiver as well. They also brought in Kanye Udo from Army to be their running back, and he's a very good running back. I thought Arizona State was going to be just fine. I thought they would come in here and roll Mississippi State, but that's not at all what happened. And Kenny Dillingham has some work to do because Arizona State right now does not look like the favorite to repeat in the Big 12. Like, Utah and Texas Tech both look better.
Yeah, maybe it was a wake-up call for the Big 12. I mean, the SEC dominated the Big 12, not only Mississippi State, but Missouri as well. Steamrolled the second half.
Yeah, Kansas broke my heart. I had them plus 5.5. Broke my heart. Like, I thought
I mean, things were going good up until the start of the second half.
They were. Jalen Daniels was on fire, but man, you got to give credit to Elijah Drinkwitz in Missouri. They really put the clamps down on him in the second half. And Bo Pribula, that dude is really good. He had, 340 yards passing for Missouri in that game. Just a very clutch performance. And we also have to ask ourselves, is Missouri a sneaky dark horse? Because if you look at their schedule, they've got Louisiana this week. And then next week they get South Carolina at home. They get Alabama at home. Their toughest road game is at Oklahoma, but they also go to Auburn, and Auburn is, to me, very unproven. They do play Vandy, who I think is really good. You play Texas A&M, but it's not like they played Georgia. It's not like they played Texas. It's not like they played Tennessee. Missouri they're a dark horse. There's a path to them to being this year's Indiana.
Yeah. I think it's a team that has been improving year by year, and it can be a dark horse in the Southeastern Conference.
Right. Remember, 2 years ago, if we had a 12-team playoff, they would have been in it because their 2023 season was very similar to the Vols' 2022 season. And think about it, we made it 2 years after our 2022 season, and it would be interesting if Missouri became Tennessee's parallel in that aspect to make it in 2025 after their 2023 season. Remember, we fell asleep and we were falling asleep watching their Cotton Bowl win over Ohio State.
Oh,
God, that was funny. And then your parents got mad because you were snoring. But in any case, that was neither.
Yeah, to see how the game wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because Ohio State just no one. They all quit. It weren't on the
Yeah, definitely. Ryan Day didn't want to be there.
No, but hey, they made up for it the year after. All right. So this other quick reaction I had, because there's a lot of blowouts this past week, but I think to me one of the bigger takeaways here is I have a new national title pick. I don't know if I really had one in the preseason, but I do now. To me, the best team in the country right now is Oregon. What Oregon did to Oklahoma State the other day is insane. They beat the heck out of them 69-3 and punished Mike Gundy for making comments last week about them, oh, the only reason why you're good is because you're able to spend all this Nike money. And then you have so much more money than me. And then, if you watch the pregame hype video from Oregon, Dan Lannon is like, well, he can say all this crap about us, but we have heart, we have grit, and we're going to go out and we're going to kick his ass. And that's exactly what Oregon did. I mean, this game was 69-3 in the third quarter. Just super impressive. You know, Oregon looks like the real deal. Oklahoma State, I think, needs a reset. Like, I was kind of surprised that they kept Gundy after last year going 3-9, but after getting thoroughly embarrassed like that on national TV, I don't know why Mike Gundy is still the head coach at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, last year we discussed that his time has passed. Of course, he had some great moments, especially 2011 when he came this close to play for the national title, and Oklahoma State fans still argue about that year, probably constantly. How they got screwed, but joined the line with Florida State. Both got screwed by Alabama, but at the end of the day, um, you know, Mike Gundy is more the old version. Like, how can I say? Like, he's outdated, kind of like Double Sweeney we talked about. He is outdated.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely outdated for sure. I'll tell you what wasn't outdated though. Baylor SMU. That thing was an
Oh,
up and down, fantastic game. Baylor ended up coming back and winning that game 48-45. And for SMU, I think it pretty much puts them in a position where it's going to be really hard for them to repeat their college football playoff appearance.
yeah, I think that loss probably set them back, and and before I talk to this game, I forgot to mention as well. I mean, someone who really wanted these Ducks to, make it a run to the national title game, and now will be rooting on the sky. Which Charlie Clerk is a
Oh,
big
yes, yes.
Oregon Ducks fan, and I would imagine they're gonna honor him on Saturday. But in terms of the Texas, battle, Baylor really had an impressive performance in the fourth quarter and in overtime as well. And I think SMU now have to run the table to have another shot in the college football playoff.
Right, and they have to play Miami and amongst some other tougher ACC competition. It's going to be a hard sledding for them. I don't think you're going to see the Mustangs back in the playoffs. Also, Iowa still has no offense. So they literally brought in one of the top passers from FCS last year, and Mark Gronkowski from South Dakota State. They still can't pass the football. Just it blows the mind. I don't understand why Iowa cannot find offense. They can't. Like it's really mind-boggling. So that is all. I don't know why they still put up with Kirk Ferentz. I mean, like because we watched them in person a few years ago, and that I remember you were reading like the newspaper or something while Iowa was on offense.
Yeah, because I knew nothing was gonna get done, and I remember they scored 0 points on that Citrus Bowl match.
Yep, 0 points. Also, the last thing to bring up, our good buddy Nico Imialava at UCLA is now 0-2 after losing to Dan Mullen and the 3-0 UNLV Rebels. They were down 23-0 in this match. And of course, obviously, it was a good second half effort, but in the Nico interception. And he took some bad sacks in this game. He overthrew a wide open touchdown on that last drive, too. Which, hey, for overthrowing wide open touchdowns, it was kind of Nico's thing last year. So, hey, at UCLA, and you look at their schedule, I mean, they play New Mexico this week, so that's probably a win. But, man, they probably don't have a lot more wins. They've got Penn State coming soon. They've got Ohio State. It's going to get rough. Like, you got to – that decision makes less and less sense the longer we go.
No, yeah, it's. I mean, it's still mind blowing to think about that. That's fair. I mean, sometimes in college football, you just have to rip the band-aid off, like we talk about Billy Napier and Mike Gundy.
Yes. Now, looking ahead to this week, what are the underrated games for this week? And to me, I think a couple include the Backyard Brawl Pitt at West Virginia. Of course, obviously the fans are going at it online, and it's fantastic to see. Great discourse. Although I will say this, West Virginia is coming off of a really embarrassing loss on the road to Ohio, the Bobcats of the MAC. So Rich Rodriguez is really struggling in year one with the Mountaineers. Also, another interesting match to watch that's flying a bit under the radar. Duke at Tulane, of course. Duke coming off a loss to Illinois. Their quarterback, Duke Mensa. Actually, I don't think that's his name. But Darian Mensa. He was at Tulane last year before being taken away from Tulane and transferring to Duke. So now he has to go back to New Orleans with Duke to play Tulane. And Tulane now has Jake Retzlaff, who was at BYU last year. So that's another super fascinating game. And if Tulane wins this game, then Tulane would have 2 P4 wins against Duke and Northwestern. So just keep that in mind in the G5 sweepstakes. Tulane would become a formidable opponent to South Florida for that top spot. And both are in the Americans, so it stands to reason that you could see a South Florida versus Tulane American Championship with both teams that are ranked. And if those two teams feel like they could be this year's Boise State and UNLV. Of course, UNLV is also going to be, I think, in the conversation as well, given the fact that they are undefeated right now.
Yeah, I think, this game has a lot of implications. For me, the underrated game of the week is oh my god, it missing my is Vandy at South Carolina.
Yes,
I think because Vanderbilt looks impressive that second half against Virginia Tech. They're going to be a tough team to beat, and Shane Beamer, being 11 ranked has a lot to prove. So my underrated game of the week, South Carolina, Vanderbilt at South Carolina.
Look, and that's my upset alert too. Vandy at Carolina. Vandy outscored Virginia Tech 34-0 in the second half. And first and foremost, I think that's it for Brent Pry at Virginia Tech. Like, Virginia Tech used to be a very proud program, and they are just horrible now. Like, I said in the offseason, can Virginia Tech avoid going 0-2 against the SEC? Not only couldn't they do that, they got absolutely ran out of their own stadium by Vanderbilt. Ran out of the stadium by Vanderbilt. There's not a sadder sentence you can write than...
Not only you lost by double digits and shut out in the second half in your stadium.
Yeah, just not good. But for Vanderbilt, like, they look legit. They look for real. And Carolina honestly has not impressed me. Like, Vandy played Virginia Tech worse than South Carolina did. South Carolina was struggling with South Carolina State in week 2. I don't know outside Lenore Sellers, I'm not really sure how good the rest of the South Carolina team actually is. And for me, I think Vanderbilt seems to know more about what they are versus what South Carolina is. So I think Vandy's going to take a shot at them. Give me Vandy over Carolina.
I still think Shane Beamer's team going to survive. Give me the Gamecocks.
Mm-hmm. Going to be a good one. Now, to our game picks. First game up, we have an ACC battle down in Atlanta. We have number 12 Clemson going down I-85 taking on Georgia Tech. Both teams undefeated. Clemson's 1-1. Georgia Tech is 2-0. Do we think that this is Georgia Tech's opportunity to maybe make a statement in the ACC? The Clemson's only 2.5-point favorites here.
Yes. Give me the Yellow Jackets.
I agree. Also, give me Georgia Tech. Clemson looks horrible to me. They have no run game. Their blocking is not good at all. And I just think Haynes King is going to make a difference here. Give me Georgia Tech. Now, at the stadium you were just at, Gus, Florida at number 3 LSU. This will be a night game in Baton Rouge. Is there any hope for the Gators? Can they bounce back from their previous disaster?
I think it's gonna be a competitive game. I think seeing LSU being so uninspired, maybe made me a little bit pessimistic. I still think LSU gonna be Florida, but I don't think it's gonna be like a. I don't think LSU is gonna ran Florida out of the stadium.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's going to be a very competitive game, but at the end of the day, I don't trust Billy Napier to win this thing on the road. Give me LSU, and what should be, which I think will be a pretty messy game. Now, the next one, the shocking 18th ranked South Florida Bulls going to Hard Rock Stadium to take on number 5 Miami. This thing is on the CW, which they're getting a top 25 game. I bet they never expected that. Any chance the Bulls can do it again?
I mean, the only reason I can see is because the head coach on the sideline from the Hurricanes, his name is Mario Cristobal, and he has a track record of, kind of, losing games to opponent like that.
Yeah, and of course, Miami does host Florida next week. So is this a look ahead spot? But then again, why look ahead to a team when you're playing the team that just beat them this week in Miami? So, yeah, you're right. The Cristobal factor here certainly is a consideration, but man, Miami's just more talented. Like, I'm going to take Miami. I think they'll get this one. But you're right, Gus. It's not impossible because I do think Golish is a way better head coach than Mario Cristobal is. But I just think the talent advantage is not going to be is. I think Cristobal will get enough out of his talent to get it done. Now, a rematch of a really important Week 1 game last year, number 16 Texas A&M going to number 8 Notre Dame. And you remember Notre Dame has not won a game yet technically this season. Is this a do or die game for the Fighting Irish, considering they already have a loss? Because if they lose this game, how hard is it for them to make it to the college football playoff if they get a second loss? And how important is this for Texas A&M?
Oh, I think for Texas A&M is massive. I mean, beating a top 10 team, and Marcus Freeman. I mean, of course, last year making to the national title game was something kind of like in a bigger version of Ryan Day, because remember last year Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois at home, so of course fans forgot all about that when it comes to the playoffs and going all the way to the national championship game. But if Notre Dame starts the year with 0-2, I don't know. People are going to remember that game. And give me Texas A&M.
Ooh. See, I haven't been impressed with Texas A&M so far, to be honest with you. I feel like they've kind of been lethargic in their first 2 games against Utah State and UTSA. And Notre Dame did lose that opening game, but they had a really strong effort in the fight. And this game's at home, and Texas A&M's track record in big games recently has just not been very good. I think Notre Dame's defense is going to suffocate Texas A&M. I think Jeremiah Love is the difference here. Give me Notre Dame to win this thing at home. All right, and this leads us to our game of the week here in beautiful East Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, at Checkerboard Neyland, College game day. It's Georgia, number 6 in the country, and number 15, Tennessee, the battle for Nickajack Lake. It's our water, Georgia. But anyway, you're looking at last week, right? We both were coming off FCS wins. We beat ETSU 72-17. Georgia beat Austin Peay 28-6.
And it was funny that Georgia took a really long time to beat them because of the weather.
Yes, yeah. Last week was an awful week with all the weather delays. Tennessee somehow lucked out in that aspect, and they didn't let the soggy weather slow them down, right? Like we came out, scored 72 points. Joey Aguilar played very well, but I will say this, I will caution this, right? Because there's a lot of people taking a lot of conclusions from what we saw last week in terms of Tennessee has a better offense than Georgia. you can't tell when you play an FCS team. You didn't learn a lot more about Tennessee that you didn't already know by watching them play ETSU. You didn't learn anything about Georgia by watching them play Austin Peay. Like, we don't know how good Georgia actually is yet because they've played Austin Peay and Marshall. We have no idea if Georgia is better than they were, worse than they were. We don't know. And, there's a lot of people who are freaking out in the Georgia fan base saying, like, oh, Gunnar Stockton needs to be benched. I mean, how do you know that? You haven't played a good team yet this season with this team. And let's be real here. Georgia still has more talent. On the roster composite, they're deeper. I think, obviously, when you look at offensive weapons here, the X factor for Georgia is their new receiver, Zachariah Branch, to transfer from USC. They still have Nate Frazier, who is a preseason all-SEC running back for them in the backfield. But, defensively, right, like when you look at Tennessee, one of our big issues here is we're down our top two cornerbacks in Jamar McCoy and Ricky Gibson. So in steps in Colton Hood and McMurray. So, guys, when you take a look, right, at the Tennessee defense versus the Georgia offense, clearly the big question here is Gunnar Stockton. He's never started on the road. And let's be real here. This Tennessee atmosphere he's going to deal with Saturday is going to be crazy. Like, I was there for the 2023 Georgia game, at least early on. That was the loudest I've ever heard inside of Neyland. I think it was so loud, it was static. Like, the noise ceased to exist. It was so loud. And Tennessee at that point was already 8-3, 7-3. We had no championship hopes. So we were just there to be there. Like, we didn't actually have hope. Like, Tennessee fans are going to have hope in this game. It's going to look like the two Alabama games that we've played since 2022. I think it's going to be every bit as loud as those Alabama games. Like, this thing is going to be insane loud.
Yeah, because, Tennessee has not beat Georgia at Neyland Stadium in 10 years. The last time was 2015.
Mm-hmm. And the last time we've beaten them at all was on the Hail Mary.
Yeah, so 9 years.
So
the beginning of the Kirby Smart era.
Right. And the question has been, right, is Josh Heupel's offense capable of defeating Kirby Smart's Georgia Bulldogs? Because Josh Heupel we have not had a passing touchdown against Georgia since 2021. We've not scored more than 2 touchdowns in a game against Georgia since 2021. Like, we have struggled to do anything on offense. And now, we're asking Joey Aguilar to step in this position. And Joey Aguilar for 2 games has looked very, very good. But again, he hasn't played a team yet like Georgia. Like, Syracuse is not Georgia. Like, Syracuse barely beat Connecticut the other day. So we actually really don't know how good Joey Aguilar is. There's just all kinds of unknowns. Now, to me, right, the big, X factor is, can we consistently run the ball? Because I think one of our grave mistakes we made last year is, if you look at the first half, we ran the ball pretty well against Georgia. But we got away from it in the second half and asked Nico to win the game, and Nico wasn't good enough to win the game. So if we're in a position where Joey Aguilar has to win the game, is Joey good enough to win this game? And that is the question that must be asked. And it's, I don't think I could necessarily bet on Joey being that guy without seeing it, without seeing him prove it. But some of those deep throws we've seen early on, I mean, could he be? He certainly could be. And that's what it's going to take, because I think this Georgia defense is every bit as talented as their defenses of the past few years.
Yeah, Joey Aguilar definitely has a game to change his status in Big Orange Country. Definitely is a game people remember. And also for Heupel as well. The last 3 encounters, his offense couldn't do nothing against Georgia. So it's also a big test for Heupel.
Yes, it is a huge one. I mean, it's not like, I'm going to turn on Heupel if we lose this one, right? Like, we're underdogs here. We all know what happened this offseason. Like, it is what it is if you don't beat Georgia here. And with the cornerback situation, yeah. But it does feel like the momentum here is on Tennessee's side, right? There's a lot of doubt with Georgia. It's not like the past couple of times where you knew Georgia was a better team coming into Neyland, but this one you don't know. And I think that is the difference here between those matchups and this one for Heupel. So I think this is truly his best shot in Neyland to take out Georgia. I think last year was a good shot, a shot that I wish we had taken advantage of. And I think if that game were in Neyland, Tennessee could have beaten Georgia. But now is the opportunity upon us for Tennessee to beat Georgia? That's a great question. We have to get turnovers if we're Gunnar Stockton. We have to protect the football. And Stockton and Aguilar is going to have to hit a couple of deep balls. If they could hit a couple of them, we could see some magic on Saturday. And I just a win against Georgia would be so big. It'd be a massive monkey off the back of Josh Heupel, and it would put the rest, I think, a lot of this whole Mickey Mouse narrative crap. Like, right, like, oh, Josh Heupel runs a Mickey Mouse offense, and he can't beat truly the elite teams. Oh, this is the chance. This is the chance. Get Georgia, take it to them.
Yeah, give me Tennessee. I think it's going to be 28-25.
I'm going to give them more motivation. I'm taking Georgia. Like, until I see Tennessee beat Georgia, I can't really pick them, right? Against Georgia. So I'll take the Bulldogs here. Prove me wrong. And if we win, we storm the field. Which I know there's some people, I've seen that argument this week. I think we should storm the field if we win. So there you go. Georgia, Tennessee, big one, 3:30 ABC on Saturday. One more college football I wanted to bring up. Have you seen this AP poll controversy, Gus?
Oh, the voter. Oh my God.
It's just like, first and foremost, we'd be more qualified, certainly. But like, it goes to show that why are we relying on a system where you have these sports writers who don't have time to watch all these other games? And even if they do, they just seemingly don't care. I mean, they're just like, this lady was like, like who cares, right? Like, I'm just one vote of many votes. But like, you're literally determining the narratives. You're literally determining where these teams could go at the end of the year. In the AP poll factors into the CFP poll.
And also the way she explained it, it shows a lot of disrespect to college football itself. A lot of I don't know. I think she should be replaced because I bet there's a lot of people out there who take college football seriously and would be more focused and more respectful to the competition itself. But she can say, the AP poll is not as important as it used to. There's now the college football playoff ranking, but up until the college football rankings come out in November, that's the poll that everybody follows. That's what sets narratives. That's what sets TV. For example, why ESPN is going to Knoxville is because number 6 Georgia plays number 15 Tennessee. If Tennessee wasn't ranked, probably I would have say college football. The game day would have go to Indiana, to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it comes down to. And it just, this whole thing about her like moving Florida up 2 spots, not ranking South Florida. And she was like, oh yeah, I didn't see the game, but who cares? I'm like, check the scores at least.
Yeah. Like, I'm not asking you to have, precise analysis of every FBS game. It's just like, check the score. Say, hey, Florida was ranked number 13 and lost to an unranked team. So that means Florida is going down. That's logic.
Right. And like, I don't know. Just the logic makes no sense. She had Tennessee 25 in her first poll, and then moved them to 12 in the second poll for no reason. Like for what? Because we beat ETSU. That wasn't worth 13 spots moving up. I mean, I don't know. Just it doesn't make any sense. No accountability at all whatsoever. Now, one thing, a team I want to shout out real quick. We really haven't talked about them. The Lady Vol soccer team. They're number 1 in the country, Gus. I mean, this is unbelievable to see this, considering where they were when we were there covering them, and now they're just on a roll. I mean, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and they had to replace their head coach a couple of years ago. Brian Pensky was an uppercoming, really big shot of a head coach and did a tremendous job in the program and left for Florida State, which is more established program. Don't get me wrong, but now this program is really going strong, and being the number 1 team is just. And what's so funny is that I mean, I remember 2021 Tennessee played North Carolina and was humiliated, and I was there. And this year they came out and beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And now Joey Kurt really turned this program around.
Yeah, and like they literally have not given up a single goal all year, which is spectacular. So it's truly impressive, and I can't wait to see what they do in the postseason coming up here soon. All right, Gus. Off to the NFL Week 1 in the books. What are some of your biggest takeaways from this week?
First of all, shout out to my great country, Brazil, and the best city in the country, Sao Paulo. Another great Sao Paulo game. I didn't see any complaints or any criticism on the field. I think definitely Corinthians Arena improved from last year. So I want to first of all say shout out to Brazil. Another great crowd, 44,000 people, another sellout crowd. Brazil really showed that they embrace the NFL. They are really, how can I say, like the public bought it, and I'm happy to see my country hosting a game again for the second year in a row. Unfortunately, I wasn't there again, but maybe one day I'll finally watch an NFL game in Brazil. I mean, I watched so many NFL games in America. Hopefully, one day I'll watch in Brazil. And another takeaway as well is the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I did not expect that blowout. Definitely, whoever bet the over on that Colts beat down by the Dolphins probably was the best bet, because I did not expect them to, make that double-digit win against. I mean, because Daniel Jones, of course, coming out as a starter, people was a little skeptical, and they rolled the Dolphins, and the Dolphins can't say, oh, we play in snow. No, it was a warm end of the summer day in Indianapolis,
and you're inside a stadium too, so no excuse. But man, Mike McDaniel is going to get fired after this year. The team is just soft. Like they just got pushed around in both lines of scrimmage, and Tua Tagovailoa looked terrible. And you have to wonder if he is approaching the end of the line too as the franchise quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I know Tua said this week he held team meetings. They're going to need something. And it's also not a good look when Tyreek Hill is openly complaining on the sidelines. And you just kind of wonder if he's going to demand a trade at some point to get out of there. It's where it feels like that's going. So definitely bad days for the Dolphins. Also bad day for my Tennessee Titans, Gus. Yeah, I'll say this. Defense played very, very well. Cam Ward, I saw some promise in. But our offensive line is abysmal. I would be okay if every single one of our offensive linemen got cut. Like, I think they're all terrible. and their receivers are not any better. Like the amount of drops that we had on Sunday were
I mean,
unacceptable.
Kyle Ridley, my God.
He's so bad. Calvin Ridley is so bad.
Calvin, sorry.
He's terrible. Honestly, I was most impressed with Alec Ariel Manor. Frankly, out of all the receivers that we did have that played, but man, Ridley was awful for the guy who's supposed to be wide receiver one, and Brian Callahan. Look, I am trying to be patient with him because I know last year you had Will Levis, so whatever, you had a really bad quarterback, and I get that the talent's not good, but the play calling in this game was horrifically bad, just horrific, way too conservative. Didn't give Cam Ward enough chances to show what really he could do, and then like you don't challenge an obvious catch that was ruled incomplete because the booth quote unquote didn't tell you so, or just and then like at the end you're just basically spamming 4 verts. Like Brian Callahan is not cut out to be an NFL head coach. I'm sorry. Like this is the NFL, you don't get as much time as you do in college. And it's pretty obvious and clear to me that Brian Callahan should be fired. And I think it's like the Billy Napier. It's not like he's going to get fired right now, but he's going to get fired by the end of the year because he is a terrible head coach. And if we keep him, he's going to waste Cam Ward.
Yeah, I think definitely Tennessee and Miami might be looking for new coaches really soon.
Right. Also, Sean Payton for the Broncos. I know they won, but what in the world were they doing? First and foremost, Bo Nix looked awful. Like their offense was completely discombobulated throughout the entire game. And then, guys, I don't know if you saw the 4th and 8 debacle at the end. So it's 4th and 8 from like the Tennessee 30 with like a minute left. Denver could kick like a 47-yard field goal to make it a 23-12 game, which would be a 2-possession game. But then Sean Payton comes out and throws a pass on 4th and 8 where that was incomplete, giving the Titans one last shot. It's one of the dumbest play calls I have ever seen in my life. And I just don't understand what he was doing there at all. Just completely hilarious, completely inexplicable. Additionally, one other deal, the Steelers-Jets game was pretty crazy. Like, the Aaron Rodgers looking like his vintage self for Pittsburgh. Very interesting. Also, Justin Fields looking like the best quarterbacks the Jets has had in a very, very long time. Like, I know the Jets lost, but that was like the most watchable they've been in years.
I had a feeling this game was going to be great. I know also the Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football were great games. I think maybe this game could have been a Monday Night Football. It would have been a standalone game because the headlines, the swap quarterbacks and is Aaron Rodgers back? That's what everybody's thinking. Look how crazy. Can the Steelers have a productive offense and resurrected Aaron Rodgers' career? Who would have thought of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll be curious to see where these two teams go throughout the rest of the season. But man, definitely both teams definitely put on a great game. And you referenced that Ravens-Bills game. What in the world happened? The Ravens defense is just terrible. Like to really collapse at the end of the game like that. They went into prevent mode. And of course, I know they were assisted by the Derrick Henry fumble. But, man, going into prevent mode against Josh Allen is just never going to work. And Josh Allen made them pay for it. Now, obviously, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson still look amazing, look great. And we're probably going to see this matchup again in the playoffs. But, man, that's a tough one to lose if you're the Ravens because that could be the difference between you getting to host a playoff game or having to play in Buffalo in January.
And also giving up 22 points in the 4th quarter after holding the Bills to only 20, it's completely inexplicable. The Ravens, again, this loss gives fans can the Ravens beat the top dogs in the AFC? Because, remember how many chances Baltimore had to go to the Super Bowl, but couldn't beat the big dogs, couldn't beat Chiefs, couldn't beat the Bills. And again, another.
Oh, I think we've lost Gus there. His Wi-Fi is kind of cut out. But yeah, as he was mentioning though, the Bills Ravens absolute classic. Also, the Bears Vikings of Monday Night Football was also a very interesting game. All right, Gus, I think we have you back. Your internet cut out. So I was
I'm on the Airbnb. I'm on the Airbnb in Corpus Christi, so I don't know how reliable the internet is here. But I was just saying that the Raven fans are definitely worried with this performance. That can they be the top dogs in the AFC?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like one of these two teams, right, are the heir apparents to take out KC, and the Chargers, help start us in that path, right, with a win over the Chiefs in Brazil. So it's just going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out. I'll tell you who's not going to be an heir apparent, though, is the Chicago Bears. Because, man, another choke job by Chicago. And just Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons, you can always count on them to have major choke jobs in big spots. Because, like, when Atlanta, they went ahead with, 2 minutes left against Tampa Bay, you just knew they were going to find a way to lose that game. Because it's what Atlanta does. They gave up a big touchdown on Mika Abuga and then missed a field goal at expiration. The Bears get it by multiple touchdowns, and then J.J. McCarthy comes back and just dices them up in the fourth quarter with Caleb Williams failing to do literally anything. The Bears and the Falcons, two birds of the same feather, of the same flock.
Yeah, and again, it's so funny that the Bears go ahead and hire a new coach because the last coach also made stupid decisions and blow and lost inexplicable games. And again, the Bears can't escape their destiny. But shout out to JJ McCarthy. I'm so happy to see him back on performing and getting this team to rally, because this game was like kind of like especially for McCarthy, because last year in the preseason he had a season-ending injury, and imagine for a rookie starting this game, he's year 2, but in reality year 1 for him because he hasn't played yet. So great performance by McCarthy.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into some week 2 picks, Gus. Week 2 begins tomorrow night between the Packers and the Commanders in Lambeau. Of course, the Packers coming off of a very impressive win against the Lions. I mean, they look like they might be the best team in the NFC North. What do we think here about Jayden Daniels versus Jordan Love on Thursday Night Football?
I'll bet the under. Give me Packers, but it's going to be a 3-point game.
I'll have a pick. Give me the Packers. I think they cover. Now, Sunday in Nashville, the Rams at the Titans. Who do we have here?
Give me the Rams.
I agree. Give me the Rams too.
Sorry, Nicholas Hill.
But Titans are sorry. They're so bad.
Yeah, the Rams had a great performance against Houston. So I think they're gonna be a contender in the NFC West.
Right, that defensive line is gonna make Cam Ward's night just awful. Now,
especially if the O-line plays like they played in Denver.
Yeah. Now, a pair of 1-0 teams here: the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. What do we think?
The great quarterback matchup. Remember, they face off in the 2019 College Football National Championship, and I'm gonna pick the team that has the winning quarterback in that game. Give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, Bengals as well. Although I'll say this: Jags look better than I thought they would, and Travis Hunter had a very good start to his career. All right, about 0-1 team here: the Giants at the Cowboys. What do we think here?
I'll be in Dallas in that day, but I probably not gonna go to the game I've been to AT&T Stadium before, and it's not a very. I don't think it's going to be a very inspiring game, but Dallas looked better than I thought on Thursday Night Football against the Eagles. Give me the Cowboys.
I agree. Give me the Cowboys as well. Dak and CD look like they got their connection back. And the Giants, who's going to start for them? Apparently, Byron Dable says he's trying to get approval from ownership to start Jackson Dart, which makes 0 sense. Why you got to go through ownership to make personnel changes? Goes to show how bad that organization is.
Yeah, and how little trust they have in their coach.
Yeah, probably another team they'll be looking for a new coach. All right, how about the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions, a pair of 0-1 teams?
And the Lions fans are really gonna go strong in this game. I mean, tickets are going from $260. I mean, the most expensive probably this weekend. Give me the Lions.
I agree. Give me the Lions as well. I think it'll be a really good game. Now, how about the 0-1 New England Patriots at the 0-1 Miami Dolphins?
Give me the Patriots. I think that's a kind of game that Vrabel really takes off, against a confused and weak Miami.
I agree. Give me the Patriots. I think the Dolphins are really down bad. And the Patriots, I mean, I know they lost to the Raiders, but I think I saw some good stuff from them, and I think they're going to find a way to get this one done. Now, the San Francisco 49ers, probably with Mac Jones at quarterback, Brock Purdy is hurt, at the Saints. What do we think here?
Give me San Francisco.
Yeah, even with Mac Jones, I still like the 49ers to get this one done. I think the Saints are just not very good, especially on offense. This one's interesting. At 1 p.m., we got 1-0 Buffalo Bills at the 0-1 New York Jets.
I mean, the Jets fans are thinking, I mean, we came that close to beat the Steelers on the road. Justin Fields looked good, but it needs to translate to wins. And I think it's going to come on Sunday. Give me the Jets.
I'm still going to ride with Buffalo here. I think Buffalo is better. I think Josh Allen is the difference. But hey, the Jets are going to make it interesting, I'm sure. All right. How about the Seattle Seahawks at the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Give me the Steelers. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers keep performing like that, why not? The sky's the limit.
Yeah, I agree. A home game for Pittsburgh. Seattle going to come across the country. Give me Pittsburgh. Now, in the AFC North, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh, give me the Ravens.
I agree. Ravens are by far the better team, I think. Even with their defensive questions, Cleveland is not good enough to exploit that. Okay. At 4 o'clock, we got the Denver Broncos at the Indianapolis Colts.
Give me the Colts. Go, Jason.
I'm going to say this. It feels like week 1 was low-key a little bit fluky. I think Denver's going to play a lot better this week. Give me the Broncos. All right, 4 o'clock here. We got the Carolina Panthers at the Arizona Cardinals.
I think Bryce Young bounced back. Give me Panthers.
I'm tempted to say that. This feels like this will be a really good game. I think Arizona finds a way as Kyler Murray continues to, because Kyler Murray tends to perform really well early in the year. So I'm going to go with Arizona. Now, Super Bowl rematch: Philadelphia Eagles at the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think here about Arrowhead?
Oh, give me my Rafael de la Vedova's team. Give me the Eagles.
I think the Chiefs are going to find a way to bounce back and get the dub at home. Sunday Night Football, you have the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings.
Give me the Vikings.
Yeah, Atlanta's going to be up after 3 quarters, and then Minnesota's going to find a way to come back.
I mean, it's funny that matchup has terrible memories for Vikings fans, right?
Yep. Yeah, in 1998 and 2004, I believe.
Yeah, I remember the 1998 NFC Championship.
Yep. So, anyway, Minnesota, I think, gets it done. All right, and we have a pair of Monday Night Football games. First, we have Tampa Bay at Houston.
Give me Tampa.
I'm going to take Houston at home. I think CJ Stroud gets a dub there. And then the nightcap are the Los Angeles Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think this is going to be a great game.
Give me the Chargers.
Give me the Raiders. I actually think the Raiders looked really good on Sunday. I was impressed with them. All righty. So that was week 2 picks. So real quick updates here. We have NASCAR playoffs ongoing. Denny Hamlin won at Gateway in this past week. They go to Bristol, which, by the way, once again, this is my annual call. Move the night race back to August. Why are we holding the Bristol night race the same week as Georgia, Tennessee? Like, it hurts yourself. It hurts the product, NASCAR. Like, we need Bristol before college football.
Yes, I agree.
But in any case, Denny Hamlin and Chase Briscoe are through to the next round. Also, the Dodgers blew a no-hitter over the weekend and lost to the Orioles in the same game. Just a really bizarre situation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe how they lost, especially to a team that is not going to be a contender, the Baltimore Orioles. So maybe it shows that the Dodgers are still a little bit a choke team.
Right. And they're still being chased by the Padres too. So like it's still not over for them over the last.
Yeah, they're only about 2.5 games above. So it's pretty much, I mean, is it the closest, is the second closest division race and the closest in the National League.
Right. Of course, the closest one is the AL West. The Astros only up by 1.5 games on the Mariners and 2.5 on the Rangers. So those are going to be some fascinating ones. Of course, the other ones, and then the Blue Jays are only up by 3 against the Yankees and the Red Sox.
And another MLB point I want to bring up real quick: Anthony Rizzo, he play a big role in the 2016 World Series for the Chicago Cubs. Will officially retired in Chicago before joining the Cubs as an ambassador. His return is going to be on Wrigley Field on Saturday, and yeah, I think that's great. He's going to retire as a Cubs because he was the face of that 2016 incredible World Series win, and I think he, of course, he had a very understandable to go to the Yankees to try to get the last ounce of baseball he could for a team that had a viable shot to win. But I'm glad he retires a Cub because he's definitely going to be a great ambassador for the organization.
Yes, definitely. It's always good to see a legend get to retire with their home organization like Anthony Rizzo. So congratulations to him on a great career. One last American note here, transitioning into soccer. The U.S. men's national team continues to trip and fall on their faces. They lost to friendlies over the weekend to both South Korea and Japan, 2-0 on each one. Just no confidence at all heading into 2026, Gus. Just zero confidence at all. Just not playing well.
If anything consoles friendlies and World Cup qualify is one thing, the actual World Cup is another, because Brazil as well, they qualified to the World Cup, but only because there were more spots compared to the last, the previous South American World Cup qualifying, because Brazil lost to Bolivia on Tuesday. That was expected. They play on the high altitude, and Bolivia needed the win to have a shot to go to the qualifications playoffs. But Brazil finished fifth. Fifth was the lowest position in the World Cup qualifications ever. The last time they finished outside of first place in the qualifying was 2002. And we know what happened that year. We won it all. We won the World Cup. So maybe, hopefully, it's a sign that things can turn around. But Brazil is not as confident as well. And last Brazilian topic: the Brazilian Cup quarterfinals, second leg games started tonight, and Corinthians and Fluminense advanced to the semifinals. Both of them won at home 2-0, and they're gonna wait for tomorrow's games to see who they're gonna match up. Corinthians will play the winner of the matchup between Atlético Mineiro and Cruzeiro. Cruzeiro beat Atlético Mineiro in their stadium 2-0, so they're really close to advancing. And Fluminense will play one of their arch rivals of Rio, Vasco or Botafogo. The first game was 1-1. My predictions are going to be Cruzeiro and Vasco are going to advance. But Cruzeiro and Botafogo. Cruzeiro and Botafogo.
Mm-hmm. Also, in the soccer section, I did want to shout out the Chattanooga Red Wolves. They are currently the number 1 rated power team in the USL League One power rankings. And also want to shout out Chattanooga FC because they signed a cancer patient to a 1-day contract as well. So congratulations to both of those soccer teams for having positive influences.
Yeah, and this weekend, next week, there's going to be the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Nashville will play Philadelphia, so hopefully Nashville will have a chance to play for a title. I mean, because the city of Nashville definitely deserves a title.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll play Philadelphia for the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup next week.
I didn't even know they were that far in the Open Cup.
Yeah, they're in the semis.
Well, good luck to Nashville. Hope they get it done. Also, speaking of that, because I haven't paid attention at all to MLS, I wonder how that's even going.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Frisco to cover the FC Dallas and Austin FC, the Texas Derby. I'll be there on Saturday covering some Major League Soccer in Texas. It's gonna be interesting because the Texas Derby, I mean, both teams are fighting for a spot in the Western Conference. Austin is 6th place, FC Dallas in 12th place, but both of them, especially more Dallas, definitely for Dallas, this is a do or die game because if they win, they will be 1 point behind San Jose. But if they lost, probably it's gonna be bye-bye for the season for Dallas. And for Austin, they needed to win to secure a spot in the final series qualifications.
Absolutely. Wow.
And Nashville's doing good. They're 4th place. They are in 3 points ahead of Orlando City. So I think they're gonna go straight to the final series. They're not gonna need playoffs. And I forgot to mention last week, Seattle Sounders beat the Inter Miami in the Leagues Cup and is the only team to run the table. Won the Leagues Cup, U.S. Open Cup, Supporter Shield, MLS Cup, and CONCACAF Champions League. So they won it all.
I don't know if Jason's still around. Of course, he thinks the Leagues Cup is a Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, as Mickey Mouse as it is, it's an impressive achievement for Seattle to run the table with all accomplishments possible in the United States soccer.
Yes. Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up tonight with that. For Gus Amazelli in Corpus Christi, Texas, I am Nick Hill, live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, in these United States. It's now 9/11. We will never forget those we lost 24 years ago. And may Godspeed, Charlie Kirk. Have a great night.